Tell me, if you had already won in life, if success, love, and abundance were already yours, how would you think? How would you think? How would you act? How would you act? How would you feel? I ask you now, what if everything you have ever desired is already yours? What if the success, the love, the wealth, and the peace you long for are not things to be pursued, but states to be assumed? What if the only thing separating you from your desires is your own unwillingness to claim them as yours? The world tells you to wait, to work, to strive, but the truth is far simpler. Assume it, and it is done. To assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled is to step into the reality of your desire before the world confirms it. It is to close your eyes, enter the stillness of your mind, and dwell in the experience of already having what you seek. It is not an act of mere daydreaming, nor is it an escape from the present. It is the highest act of creation, for what you claim in consciousness must be made manifest in the world. There is no force outside of you that decides your fate. It is your state of being that determines what appears before you. Look around you. Everything you see, every circumstance you experience is the reflection of an assumption you have once made. If you assume lack, life will show you endless evidence of scarcity. If you assume struggle, obstacles will arise in your path. But if you dare to assume that you already possess all that you desire, then the world will move in ways beyond your comprehension to make it so. The outer world is nothing but a shadow cast by your inner state. You do not need to concern yourself with how things will unfold. You do not need to question whether you are worthy, whether the path is clear, or whether the world will respond. It must respond. The moment you fully assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, the law is set in motion, and nothing can prevent its manifestation. The only obstacle is doubt, hesitation, the constant looking outside of yourself for proof. But proof does not come first. Assumption does. Consider this. If you were already the person you long to be, how would you think? How would you act? How would you feel? Would you worry? Would you seek confirmation? Or would you walk with confidence, knowing that the world already recognizes you as such? When you assume a state, you think from it, not of it. You do not wish for it, for wishing implies separation. You do not hope for it, for hope acknowledges that it is yet to come. You live within it, knowing that it is already yours. You may look at your current reality and feel tempted to deny this truth. You may say, but I do not see evidence of my desire. Yet that is the very reason it has not yet appeared. You are still measuring your faith by what your eyes can see, when in truth, it is what you believe within that shapes what appears without. If you would only turn inward and persist in the feeling of already having, you would witness the miraculous transformation of your world. Your senses will deceive you if you allow them to dictate what you believe. They will tell you that nothing has changed, that you are still the same, that your world remains as it was. But your senses are only showing you past assumptions made manifest. If you persist in the new assumption, if you hold steadfast to the feeling of your wish fulfilled, your senses will soon reflect the truth of your new state. Do not waver. Do not look for signs. Be the sign. Be the evidence of the reality you have claimed. Some will say, but what if I fail? There is no failure, only persistence in the wrong assumption. If you assume doubt, you will receive doubt. If you assume delay, you will experience delay. But if you assume fulfillment, the world will conspire to make it real. You cannot escape the law. The question is not whether it works, but whether you will apply it deliberately. Do not wait for the world to grant you permission to be who you wish to be. Do not wait for circumstances to shift before you allow yourself to feel successful, loved, or abundant. You must assume it now, feel it real, embody the state, live in the end, and when doubt arises, return to the feeling again and again until it becomes your natural dwelling place. You are not here to struggle. You are not here to beg for what is already yours. You are here to awaken to your power, the power to assume, to believe, and to know that what you claim in consciousness must become your reality. The world is not your master. It is your servant, waiting to reflect the state you choose to occupy. So I ask you, what will you assume? Will you continue to assume lack, limitation, and delay, or will you dare to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled? The choice is always yours, and the moment you decide, the world must respond. Assume wisely, assume boldly, and watch as reality bends to your will. Everything you have ever experienced, everything you see before you, was first conceived in the imagination of someone who dared to believe in its reality. The homes you live in, the technology you use, the very structure of society, all were first thoughts, invisible yet alive in the minds of those who refuse to accept only what their senses told them. If all that exists was once imagined, why would your own desires be any different? Why would the life you long for not be subject to the same law? You are not here to react to the world. You are here to create it. Imagination is not a fleeting daydream, nor is it an escape from reality. It is the very blueprint of creation, the force that gives shape to the formless. What you entertain within your mind, you summon into existence. Every great achievement, every transformation began as an assumption held in the unseen realm of thought. The difference between those who succeed and those who remain bound by circumstance is not luck, not effort, but the ability to persist in an imagined reality until it becomes tangible. You may ask, how can what I imagine become real when everything around me suggests otherwise? The answer is simple. The world you experience is nothing but the shadow of your past thoughts and assumptions. If you allow what is seen to dictate what is possible, you will forever be a slave to your current conditions. But if you dare to see beyond appearances, if you dare to claim what is not yet visible, then what is unseen will be made manifest. You must train yourself to see not with your eyes, but with your inner vision, for that is the only vision that creates. If you desire wealth, do not look at your empty bank account and assume poverty. Close your eyes and feel the weight of abundance in your hands. If you desire love, do not wait for another to complete you. Assume the feeling of already being cherished, already being wanted, and the world will shift to reflect that state. Whatever you hold in imagination with conviction must find expression, for it is law. The moment you accept an idea as true, it sets in motion events, circumstances, and people who will unknowingly play their roles to bring it to pass. But the mind is restless. It seeks validation, proof, a sign before it believes. It clings to the known, fearing the unknown, and so it remains bound to the very reality it wishes to escape. You must master the art of inner certainty. You must dare to assume before the evidence appears. Those who wait to see before they believe will never see at all. The unseen world is the cause. The visible world is only the effect. Change your assumption and you change the cause. Persist in that assumption and the effect must follow. Doubt is the only enemy. It whispers that what you see now is all there is, that your dreams are too grand, that change is beyond your reach. But doubt has no power except that which you give it. The moment you replace it with absolute conviction, the battle is won. To those who believe in the power of imagination, reality is fluid, shapeable, subject to the will of the one who knows how to assume. Those who do not believe remain trapped in a world of limitations, not because those limitations are real, but because they have accepted them as such. Consider this. If you were already living your ideal life, how would you think? How would you feel? How would you move through the world? If you were already successful, would you carry yourself differently? If you were already loved, would you radiate a different energy? If you were already powerful, would your words, your actions, your choices reflect that power? The answer is clear. You would not wait for reality to change before changing yourself. You would become that which you seek. This is the great secret. Imagination is not a passive force, but the very foundation of reality. If you believe yourself to be powerless, the world will confirm it. If you believe yourself to be wealthy, circumstances will arrange themselves to prove it true. If you hold fast to an idea, refusing to accept any other possibility, then that idea must manifest in time. The only delay is your own wavering, your own indecision, your own willingness to entertain opposing states. Do not look to the world for signs. The world is only a mirror, reflecting back to you what you assume within. The moment you shift internally, the mirror must change. This is why effort, struggle, and force are unnecessary. It is not your actions, but your state of being that dictates what unfolds. Action will come naturally, inspired and effortless, once you have assumed the state that aligns with your desire. You are always imagining. Every moment, you are accepting ideas as true, whether consciously or unconsciously. Most people imagine lack, failure, and limitation, and so they experience them again and again. But those who understand this law take control of their imagination. They choose their assumptions deliberately, shaping their world with intention rather than chance. They know that imagination creates reality, and so they use it wisely. If you wish to change your life, do not seek permission from the world. Do not wait for circumstances to shift before you allow yourself to believe. The moment you accept something in imagination, it has already begun. The world will conform not because you force it to, but because it must. This is not theory, not philosophy, but law. And the moment you understand it, you hold the key to your own limitless potential. If you could see the future and know with absolute certainty that everything you desire is already yours, would you still doubt? Would you still hesitate? Or would you move through life with the quiet confidence of one who knows that the outcome is inevitable? This is the key to all manifestation. You must live in the end. You must accept your desire as already fulfilled, not as something distant or uncertain, but as a present reality in which you dwell. Most people live in a state of waiting. They wait for signs, for proof, for circumstances to change before they allow themselves to believe. They look at the world as it is and assume it holds power over them, not realizing that the world is only a mirror, reflecting back their inner assumptions. To live in the end is to bypass the need for external validation. It is to claim the reality you desire as your own, without questioning, without seeking confirmation, without wavering. You must ask yourself, how would you feel if your wish were already fulfilled? How would you think, speak, and act if you had already received the success, the love, the wealth you seek? Would you still worry? Would you still doubt? Or would you move through life with a deep inner peace, knowing that all has been arranged for you? This is the state you must assume. This is the feeling you must dwell in, not occasionally, not only when things seem favorable, but persistently, until it becomes your natural state of being. When you truly live in the end, you no longer concern yourself with how your desire will unfold. You do not analyze, you do not question, you do not seek reassurance. The seed has been planted. And just as the farmer does not dig up the soil each day to check if his crop is growing, you too must trust that the process is unfolding perfectly. The moment you assume your wish fulfilled, the unseen forces of creation begin to work in your favor. The path may not always be obvious, and events may not unfold in the way your logical mind expects, but if you remain faithful to the end, the means will present themselves effortlessly. There is no effort in this, no struggle, no need to force anything. The only requirement is faithfulness to your assumption. If you persist in the feeling of already having, your reality must shift to reflect it. The world is not separate from you. It is an extension of your consciousness, a canvas upon which your inner state is projected. To change the picture, you must change the assumption from which it arises. Many people make the mistake of thinking they must work harder, do more, strive endlessly to achieve their desires. But action alone, when taken from a state of lack, only produces more lack. The only action that matters is the action that flows naturally from the state of already having. When you live in the end, inspired action comes effortlessly. You will find yourself moved in ways you could not have planned, led to opportunities you could not have predicted. The world will arrange itself around your assumption, orchestrating events with a precision that no amount of planning could achieve. You do not need to convince anyone. You do not need to explain, justify, or seek approval. The only proof you need is within you, the inner knowing that what you have claimed in imagination is already real. And if at times doubt creeps in, if the outer world tempts you to question your assumption, return again to the feeling of fulfillment. Remind yourself that you are not waiting for anything to happen. You are simply allowing what is already done to reveal itself. The reason so many fail is that they waver between two states. They affirm their desire, then look for evidence. They assume success, then question when it does not immediately appear. This inconsistency delays the manifestation, for the world can only reflect what you persist in. If you truly believe you have already received, you will not seek confirmation. You will walk as if it is done. It is not your job to force the world to comply. It is only your job to hold to your assumption. The moment you drop the need for proof, the moment you no longer seek but simply become, the world will shift in ways that seem miraculous. People will play their roles, opportunities will arise, circumstances will rearrange themselves, and all of it will seem effortless because it is. The law is absolute. What you assume and persist in must come to pass. There is no exception, no special case, no obstacle that cannot be overcome. The only question is whether you will be faithful to your vision or allow doubt to pull you back into the old state. You have already won the moment you assume the state of the wish fulfilled. So now ask yourself, what is stopping you from living in the end? If you desire wealth, will you still think from a state of lack? If you desire love, will you still carry the belief of being unwanted? If you desire success, will you still doubt your worthiness? The only barrier is the state you choose to dwell in. The world is not holding anything from you. It is only reflecting what you hold within. If you wish to change your life, you must change the self from which you think and act. No external force can do this for you. No effort, no struggle, no external action will override an inner assumption. The moment you claim the reality you seek and live from it unwaveringly, the world must obey. So I ask again, will you wait for the world to give you permission to believe? Or will you dare to assume right now that you already are all that you wish to be? The answer is yours to choose. And the moment you decide, the world will move to make it so. There is no force in this world more powerful than persistence in an assumption. Most people believe that external effort shapes their reality, that struggle, toil, and time are the ingredients of success. But the truth is far simpler. Your world is nothing more than a reflection of what you have persisted in assuming to be true. It is not fleeting thoughts that create, nor wishful hopes, but the deeply held convictions that you return to again and again until they become your natural state. Every person who has transformed their life has done so by persisting in the unseen long before the evidence appeared. They held firm to an assumption despite what their senses told them. They refused to be moved by doubt, fear, or delay, and because they remained unwavering, what they once assumed as true eventually hardened into fact. The law is absolute. What you consistently accept as true will become your experience. Most people do not persist. They plant the seed of assumption, but quickly abandon it when they do not see immediate results. They allow doubt to take root. They look for signs. They question whether it is working. But the principle is simple. If you plant a seed and water it daily, it must grow. The only thing that can prevent its growth is your own impatience. your own lack of faith in the process. If you persist in an assumption, the world must rearrange itself to reflect it. It has no choice. The mind is restless. It wants to see proof before it believes, but that is not how creation works. You do not wait to see before you believe. You believe first and then you see. The moment you persist in an assumption, reality begins shifting, aligning events, people, and circumstances to bring it into form. But if you allow yourself to be swayed by what appears real now, if you question the process, if you entertain opposite thoughts, you delay the very thing you seek. You must ask yourself, how long are you willing to persist? Are you willing to stand firm in your assumption, despite all evidence to the contrary? Will you continue to assume your desire is already yours, even when nothing seems to be changing? Most people give up too soon. They entertain an assumption for a few days, maybe weeks, but then they allow doubt to creep in. They allow their senses to dictate what is possible. But those who understand the law hold fast to their assumption until it becomes reality. Your present world is nothing but hardened past assumptions. Everything you see, everything you experience is the result of thoughts and beliefs you once entertained. If you wish to change what appears before you, you must first change what you persist in assuming within. And when doubt arises, as it inevitably will, you do not entertain it. You do not argue with yourself. You do not look to the outer world for validation. You return to your assumption again and again until it feels real, until it becomes natural, until it hardens into fact. There will be moments when everything in you wants to give up, when the world will tempt you to believe in failure, in struggle, in delay. But if you allow yourself to be shaken, if you allow yourself to accept anything other than the fulfillment of your desire, you will remain in the same cycle. The only way to break free is to persist, to assume without wavering that what you have claimed in imagination is already true. And the moment you do this, with absolute certainty, the outer world must conform. You may ask, how do I persist when nothing is changing? You persist by living in the feeling of your wish fulfilled, by refusing to entertain any thought that contradicts it. You persist by disciplining your mind, by rejecting all appearances that suggest otherwise, by dwelling only in the reality you desire. You persist by refusing to accept anything less than what you have assumed as true. There is no time limit on manifestation. It does not matter how long it takes. The only thing that matters is whether you will remain faithful to your assumption until it becomes fact. Most people are faithful to their doubts, their fears, their limitations. They assume struggle, and so they experience struggle. They assume failure, and so they meet failure. But those who persist in the assumption of success, of wealth, of love, of abundance, those are the ones who see it made real. The world is not delaying your desires. It is only responding to the assumptions you have held the longest. If you have spent years assuming lack, struggle, and limitation, do not be surprised when those assumptions continue to appear in your life. But the moment you assume something new, the moment you hold fast to a different reality, the process of change begins. And if you persist, nothing can stop it from becoming real. Every great achievement, every transformation, every miraculous shift in life has followed this simple truth. Persistence in the assumption of the wish fulfilled, no exceptions. The only difference between those who succeed and those who do not is the willingness to remain faithful to the unseen. So now ask yourself, what will you persist in? Will you persist in old fears, old doubts, old limitations? Or will you dare to persist in the assumption that what you desire is already yours? The moment you decide, the world must respond. And if you hold firm, without hesitation, without doubt, then what you once assumed in imagination must harden into fact. The truth has always been simple. What you assume and persist in must become your reality. There is no force outside of you deciding your fate, no external power dictating what you can or cannot have. You are the creator, shaping your world through the unseen power of assumption, imagination, and unwavering persistence. If you dare to act like you have already won, the world must bend to reflect that victory. If you hold the conviction that your desires are already fulfilled, that you already are the person you wish to be, then everything in your external world will rearrange itself to match your assumption. Most people wait for proof. They wait for signs. But those who understand the law do not wait, they assume. They live in the end, knowing that what they hold in imagination must materialize. They do not seek, they do not chase, they become, and the world follows. So the question is not if your desires will manifest, but whether you will persist long enough to see them through. Will you remain faithful to the unseen, to the reality you have claimed within, or will you waver, allowing doubt and circumstance to dictate your fate? The choice is yours. But if you truly understand this power, if you truly recognize your ability to create, then there is nothing in this world you cannot achieve. Assume the best, persist until it hardens into fact, and watch as the world unfolds in perfect alignment with your vision.